we can get started.
Right.
Wow, I prepared no material like that, so I'm just going to give you a technology overview. Operations dashboard for ArcGIS and introduction. My name is Pat Brennan. I work on the dashboard team with Derek and a few other people that we've got downstairs at the expo right now. So a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to describe and position the product real quickly, potentially differentiate it from other ones a little bit. We've seen lots of dashboards this week. If you were at the plenary, you probably saw quite a few examples of users' dashboards on the slides as you were walking in. The presentations throughout the day, we saw a number of different dashboards. So we're going to talk a little bit about patterns of use. We'll show you a parade of dashboards, if you will, so that you can sort of get your juices flowing with respect to, okay, how do I apply or how do I use a dashboard in my environment? Derek's going to do a pretty, sort of soup to nuts type of demonstration on how to author a dashboard from scratch, how to make the elements talk to each other, that kind of stuff. And then we're going to finish off by doing a quick what's new. We just had a release a couple of weeks ago with ArcGIS Online, so we'll show you some of the new shiny new toys, and we'll talk a little bit about our road ahead. So Operations Dashboard for ArcGIS is the platform's out-of-the-box web application, and we're focused on authoring and viewing dashboards. It's a configuration-first, no-coding type of web application. The purpose of the application is so that people can get key insights from your data. Something that makes a dashboard is that if you sort of imagine what's going on in your car, it's sort of a single screen of data. It's got all of the metrics and the performance things that you need to know. You can see them at a glance, and you can make decisions and so on and so forth. So that's sort of what a dashboard is. We do GIS dashboards, and that's sort of, we'll show a bunch of those later. Operations Dashboard is available both with ArcGIS Online. So if you have an organization, it's just there. You don't have to do anything to get it. We are also the new application that we're going to be demonstrating today is available for ArcGIS Enterprise 10.6 and beyond. And that's actually a really good question. So let me take a step back. How many of you are actually brand new to Operations Dashboard in here? Excellent. And so is there a handful of people that are familiar with the older Windows version and they're new to the web app? And so that's what we're showing today is the new web app. So the new web app has been available from ArcGIS 10.6 and beyond, so at 10.6.1. For 10.6, we finished our development work on this product a little bit after 10.6 was released. So as a portal administrator, you have to install our application at 10.6, but starting with 10.6.1 and beyond, we're in the box. So just as an FYI, show of hands, portal, are people here? And then the rest of you are online. Cool, yeah, it's about 40%?
Yeah.
Excellent. In terms of what you get in the box with us, the built-in functionality is a series of ready-to-use data visualizations. Obviously, there's the map, but we also have many types of charts. We have many types of indicators. We got gauges. They're very robust. They're highly flexible. And you basically, with them, you can create the information product that you need to convey the meaning of your data. Additionally, within the dashboard, you can configure the elements to interact with one another. So we also offer the ability to do things like changing what's seen on the dashboard when the map extent changes, or we have the ability to have like charts cross-filter the map and all this other wonderful stuff. So we'll show you how to do that in just a little bit as well. Basically, the whole premise of why dashboards exist is because they just bring all of your data together. If we think about all of the types of data that we might see in the ArcGIS platform, it sort of falls into a few different buckets. And when it comes to Operations Dashboard, is that we work with it all. It doesn't matter. It just works. So there's sort of two broader categories, I guess. There's sort of static data that's upgraded or updated periodically, if once a year, once every 6 months, once a quarter, once a week, once a day, but it's not continually being updated in real time. We also have a lot of real-time data that we support within dashboards. And this is, when we talk about real-time data, we sort of mean it in two different contexts. So we talk about, in one case, and Derek was talking about it earlier, is sort of the real-time coordination of data with apps that are happening out in the field and with a back office with a dashboard. So that's the one use case. And the other use case with real-time data is like sensor data. So AVLs and cars and that kind of stuff. You can bring that into your dashboard and it just works as well. And then once you've brought it all together, dashboards then can be used to present the data back to your audience in interesting and intuitive ways. So in terms of the patterns of use, sort of a few broad categories, but rather than spend a lot of time on this slide going into it, we're just going to show you. We'll show you some dashboards that talk about monitoring things and managing things and summarizing things and showcasing performance. And like I said, the best way to do that is just with the software itself rather than talking about it. So I'm going to jump out of the slideshow here. I'm going to open up my browser. I'm going to show you some dashboards, and we'll just walk through them, and we'll sort of talk about the different techniques that are used to create these things, some of the things that we like from a design standpoint. Many of these have been authored by our users. Many of these you may have seen already throughout the week in the showcase. And we'll just talk about what we like about them and why we like it, and hopefully it kind of gets your your brain going as to how you could best use a dashboard within your organization. So here we're showing a dashboard that is for Waze alerts, and Waze being a crowdsourced type of traffic management type thing, or not management, but traffic alerts. And so people with their phones they can report different things going on. And so this is actually happening in real time. So what we're seeing is what's going on in Colorado right now. We've got a few different indicators. We've made them clear, concise. The elements are consistently sized. The types of alerts that we're interested in are accidents, hazards. The dashboard is configured to be a little bit interactive. So right now it's showing all of the alerts that I configure it to be all of the alerts within the last 15 minutes, but I could say, well, what's been happening in the last 45 minutes, and it should update itself. So when we look at it from the last 45 minutes, you can see that the indicator has changed from just its standard configuration to red because a certain threshold has been passed. We actually got lucky there because it doesn't always when we do that, depending on the time of day. But that's just a technique that we have that you can configure into the indicators to say, hey, we've crossed a threshold. Some of the other interesting things about this dashboard is that you're tied into your regular stuff. You can move around into different areas to see what's going on. We can go back to the default here. Dashboards can be configured to bring in external sources of data as well. So what we'll do here is we'll turn on these camera feeds, see if they actually show up. Let me come out here, and you can configure your dashboard, and this will work. Yeah, it looks like it's going to work. So this is the real-time traffic. So bringing data together and presenting it back to your audience in intuitive and compelling ways. This is sort of an indicator dashboard. Here's another sort of a true operations style dashboard where they're bringing to data from many sources. So the context here is network operations. And you can see a number of interesting things. Number one, on the map element, they're bringing in weather. They're showing off alerts that are happening, or alarms that are happening in real time, even though actually this is not a real time, this is a demo dashboard. But you get the idea. A number of different indicators. You can see the position of your field technicians. You can see the position of your work orders. Even though there's a lot of information shown on this dashboard, it's not overly busy. There's just enough to tell you what's going on. So we like this dashboard as well. Here's an interesting dashboard from FEMA. And this is a direct housing mission after Hurricane Harvey. Some of the things that we like about this, one, you'll see that the last two dashboards we presented, they started with our dark theme. We also have a light theme. They're all highly configurable. We can change all these colors, but we sort of out of the box, we have these two themes. This one uses our light theme. The thing that we like about this dashboard is it's simple and to the point, but it uses pretty advanced charting techniques, the ability to stack multiple series on top of each other. Very simple use of colors. It's not too busy with what's going on. What I would say to be the correct use of a pie chart. A pie chart is not something that you should show that's got 700 slices in it, because you can't really tell what's going on. So they've configured it to only have a few slices, so that's an excellent visualization. with the date-based chart here, this has been actually an interesting dashboard to watch because this data is updated once a day. But when the dashboard was first presented, the whole blue line really wasn't there because they projected some other stuff out into the future. So you've sort of seen the mission grow as you kind of watch it. So it looks like, they'll hit their target sort of at the, maybe by the end of July. So it's a really nice dashboard and we like it. Here's one from Tempe, and it's sort of there's a few different things going on here. The opioid crisis is something that we're all aware of, and presenting some statistics back to either your constituents or to your organization. That's something that people want to do. We see a lot of opioid dashboards, quite honestly, and I guess that's not really a good thing, is it? But we see that here. So some of the techniques that they've done here is they've set it up so the filters on the charts and stuff like that. You can also do it based on the any other chart. You can do multiples like this. So that's all through configuration. Very straightforward stuff. Derek will get into it. The other thing that this dashboard shows, in addition to interactivity, is that they're showing you here how we've talked about how a dashboard is supposed to be, a display of data on a single screen. Well, sometimes in order to achieve that, your visualizations end up becoming really small and you can't convey anything because you're trying to get so much on there. So within a dashboard, you can do things like you can stack things on top of each other. So you put the most important things on the top, but if you want to sort of have a selectively reveal things, that's something that you can pretty easily do in a dashboard as well. Moving forward, this isn't a dashboard, actually. This is sort of the pattern of use that we're showing here is how dashboards can interact with Esri technology and other technologies for that matter. It's all web architecture. So what somebody here has done in our solutions group is they've created this thing that kind of is a launching page for a number of different dashboards. So this is one of the configurable apps, one of the JavaScript configurable apps. And they've configured all of these different dashboards with respect to performance metrics that are applicable to state and local government. Is there any one of these ones here that you guys want me to click on and open it so we can show you what's going on? First one wins. Okay, this one. Which one did I open? So health and environment, community contributors. So here you see a dashboard. Like I said, it's a performance dashboard. They're showing, the status of different things like health services, immunization services, ADA compliance. And for each of these metrics, they have performance targets. And through the use of some of the built-in functionality with the indicators, they've been able to showcase whether or not these metrics have been, if they're on target, if they're missing their target, so on and so forth. Again, they've configured it to maximize the use of space, so you can sort of dig into more detail, but you're not making things smaller in order to achieve that. It's all right here. The other thing that's of interest here is that this dashboard is dynamic in that based on geography, you can see the statistics for that geography. You don't have to configure a new dashboard in order to do that. Simply by changing the district, all of the metrics will change. So you create it once, and it sort of acts like a template in that you can get all of these different things showing up. And so it looks like Naperville's rocking it. Only one missed target. Nice, and they're close, 72, 75. So integration of Esri technologies on that one. This is another integration of Esri technologies here. This is actually the ArcGIS hub, and it's one of their sites. And so what they've done with that performance dashboard is through one of these like initiative pages where they sort of talk about what they're trying to do. They've actually pulled their dashboard right into their page here. It's just through a URL. I believe they use an iframe to do this. And again, it's dynamic, so you don't have to create multiples of these things. It just sort of works. This is some dashboards, or this is the landing page for Johns Creek, Georgia, and they've created an excellent hub, and so what they've done is through their open data hub is they've categorized it here. But for each one of these categories, if I jump into the fire department here, They've not only they've embedded charts into their pages, they've embedded maps into their pages, and they've also embedded dashboards into their pages. So it's just, all of the technologies now, because it is web-based, it just kind of all works together, and it's really nice, and it's very easy to do. This is another dashboard. This one's showing recent USGS earthquakes. Looks like something's probably been happening in Hawaii recently. The reason why we like this dashboard, simply because it's excellent use of an other base map within the ArcGIS suite of base maps, but really good use of color, and not feeling the need to use lots of colors to convey your ideas. If you can stick with one or two or a few colors, that can often be more effective than saying, oh, well, I have an entire palette of colors, I'm going to use every one of them once. So that's one of the things that we like about this dashboard. This dashboard is an interesting dashboard. The reason why I like this one is because, like the Waze one earlier, it's based off of crowdsourced data. So this one for the Three Rivers Park District, which one is this? This is the Bluebird one. So through crowdsourced information, this is feeding their back-end services, and then they just have this dashboard available for anybody to go look at, and you can see things like the total number of eggs that these people are, going out for their nature walks have seen, or number of hatched eggs that they've noticed, and those types of things. So it's just an interesting dashboard. Good use of color, very simple to configure. Here's one. This is actually a dashboard that's been embedded in a story map, and it shows a few different things. So this is a Homeland Security one. It's not real, so it's not operational. But the idea here is they've got a number of different things going on, and on a daily basis, the staff needs to brief the director. So through a story map, they sort of use the story map to be like a catalog of apps, and within that catalog of apps, they've put a number of different dashboards. This particular dashboard showing a number of interesting metrics. It's got your map here, but they're also showing our ability to embed content. On the Waze dashboard that we showed you earlier, we showed you that you can embed live traffic feeds, but it doesn't have to be a live traffic feed. Here, they're just embedding a weather widget. This isn't Esri technology. This isn't custom technology. They've just went and found an embed code somewhere, and they've put this into their dashboard, and that just kind of works. This is an interesting one. This is the Inception dashboard, because this is actually, dashboards are 3 levels deep into this one. So this is a story map for Yolo County elections, and here, again, through the use of tabs, this is the story map becomes sort of a catalog of apps through the tabs, and on this tab they've embedded a mapping application. And in that mapping application, they've embedded what looks to be a chart, but this chart is actually just a single element dashboard. So without the presence of a de facto charting solution within the ArcGIS platform, these people have discovered that, well, hey, I can just create a dashboard with a single chart in it. I'll save that. I'll embed that in my mapping application. I'll take my mapping application. I'll embed it in my story map, and it all just works. So it's kind of cool. People are using dashboards in education and to have a little bit of fun. Somebody, I think from Spain, created this one. And so they created a dashboard for Jurassic Park. Now, the webcams, these live traffic cams, they sometimes are a little bit temperamental. I'll refresh this one, see if they come back. They don't always. But you can see, through the use of dashboards, you can have a little bit of fun with it. But there's actually some good design things here. One thing is, now I've done it. I pressed refresh and it's not coming back at all. So if it was working, you would see that there's more than one map in here. So that's not a limitation of dashboards. They've used excellent use of symbology. They've used the NOVA base map that's available to all of you. And they've created consistently sized indicators. They've brought in lots of interesting content, so just a lot of fun. The last one I'll show you, this is another fun one, use of embedded technology, is so somebody from the Esri UK education team, they went in and they put together this Doctor Who themed one, and I don't actually understand the cultural references that they're doing here, but we just thought it was fun. They're actually, they're taking the technology, they're getting kids excited about this stuff, and so they do it with something that they can relate to. I did not watch Doctor Who when I was a kid. I was more of a Star Trek guy, I guess. But they're talking about Yetis. We haven't figured out if Yetis are a good thing or a bad thing, but I guess there's 38,000 of them. And they're showing their travels through time. So through time, they've used this old historical base map, and they've got one of these modern, sort of flashy new base maps. And so they're telling a story with their data, and they're using dashboards to do it. So it's pretty cool. And because you guys are sort of new to ArcGIS, to Operations Dashboard for ArcGIS, one of the things that I want to draw your attention to is our solutions group at Esri. And one of the things that they do is they pull together this site, solutions.arcgis.com, and it has a gallery. And in that gallery, they include many dashboards. And so if you are looking for sort of a starting point or an idea generator, you can go here to get your creative juices flowing. But you can actually download all of these things, and you can import them into your organization too. So you're actually, you're 3 steps ahead, and then all you got to do is plug your data into them. So that's something that you might be of interest in as well. So that's the creative dashboards. We've shown you what the product is, how it sort of fits into the grander scheme of things. That's some of the use cases people have come up with. There's lots more. But now I'm going to turn it back over to Derek, and he's going to show you sort of how to create one of these things.
Okay, thanks, Pat. All right, so Pat has given you an overview of Operations Dashboard. He's shown you many exciting examples. In fact, we were blown away on Monday during the plenary session where many examples of dashboards were shown. We were actually really happy to see that. Now I'm going to show you mechanically how to make an Operations Dashboard, right? So to start with, you can see here, just to set the scene, is I've already logged into ArcGIS Online. And as Pat mentioned, it's also available in ArcGIS Enterprise, specifically the Portal for ArcGIS component at the 10.6 release and later. It's not available in earlier releases simply because we use a new item type called the dashboard, which is not available in pre-10.6 portals. So right now I'm logged inside ArcGIS Online, and I'm inside the map viewer. Now, before I go into Operations Dashboard, I just want to spend a few minutes and talk about web maps and cartography. Full credit for this web map goes to my colleague, David, who's actually working at the Operations Dashboard Island. But we wanted to highlight a few tips and tricks that you can use in the web map before you leverage it inside Operations Dashboard. It's that classic phrase of garbage in, garbage out, right? So you want to make sure you've prepped the data appropriately. Number one, you can see the data here is of water sample quality sites in the state of Maryland. And right away, David has done a good job to symbolize the different water quality sites. If they're green, that means there's no advisory. The readings are good. If they're red, there's an advisory. We probably have to go back and do some more follow-up. And you can see with this symbology, there's some specific contrast between the symbol points and the background map, right? Another thing that I can do is if I zoom in, you'll notice now that the symbols will increase in size if you pay attention to the table of contents as I zoom into a higher scale. That's another technique that I can use, which is set up some scale-dependent renderers. In addition to that, if I click on one of these points, you'll notice I have a pop-up with some attribute information, right? Now, you can configure this pop-up dialog. Let me zoom out a bit. I'm going to go to my Content tab, and I'll simply click on one of these layers and go to Configure Pop-up. And you can configure the attributes. And just as an FYI, your data may have lots of attributes. Here, I want to display the relevant information for that sample site. So maybe the water body type, sample date and time, the relevant parameters like mercury level, PCBs, pH, etc. But some of this other stuff like global ID, advisory color, and text, I probably want to turn off so it's not available in my pop-up. So let me cancel that, cancel that. Now, I don't have it in this example, but as Pat mentioned, you can bring in some real-time data, and you may have that in your web map. Well, another property we want to highlight is the fact that for your layers, you can go to the properties and choose refresh interval. Here, if you have a feature class or a feature that's getting updated frequently, for example, maybe you might have some survey 123 data and you're collecting survey information, or you have a feature layer where people are editing in Collector for ArcGIS, you may want to set a refresh interval so that that data gets updated, right? That, again, will pass through an Operations Dashboard. And finally, the the last thing I want to highlight is the fact that you can also set up spatial bookmarks. So here I can go to Annapolis, and I can zoom into a certain area. These are little things that you can do to set up your web map and prep it before you actually go into Operations Dashboard. Now let's go into Operations Dashboard. So to begin with, I'm going to just go to my content page, and I want to illustrate to you the different means or methods to access Operations Dashboard. I've logged in ArcGIS Online. I'm in the content page. The first access point is simply clicking Create, and you'll notice under App, I have the Use Operations Dashboard option. That's one way. Another option is this, where in the upper right-hand corner, I have my Apps tray, and I can click Operations Dashboard from this entry point, and this actually takes me to the Operations Dashboard Gallery page. Here is where I can view all the dashboard apps that I've made, or also other dashboard apps that have been shared with me in my organization. And I can do a search based on name or the last time it was edited. I'm going to go back to my content page. A third way is I can actually go to my web maps item page. And here I get information about the web map. But again, I could click Create Web App and choose Operations Dashboard from this link. But I'm going to really go back to my map viewer. And I'm going to just, again, look at my water sample sites. Let me zoom out here. Okay. And finally, the fourth way to access Operations Dashboard is simply if I hit the Share button and I hit Create Web App. Notice now we actually have three tabs: the Configurable App Templates, Web App Builder for ArcGIS, and Operations Dashboard. And it might seem monotonous for me to show you the four different ways, but I wanted to validate for you that Operations Dashboard is now tightly integrated within ArcGIS Online and Portal for ArcGIS at 10.6 or higher, right? So I simply click on this tab. I can type in Water Samples Maryland Dashboard, right? I'll use the same title as my summary, and I'll scroll down and hit Done. And now we'll activate the Operations Dashboard for ArcGIS app within the web browser. Now, because I accessed it from the map viewer, by default, we'll add a map element and we'll see it displayed. Whoops, let me just, hang on, I want to make sure I, Control plus, go to full extent here. And I have my web map displayed. And I went over those little tips for my web map because all those enhancements that I set to my web map are automatically honored inside Operations Dashboard, right? So I can click on my features, and again, the pop-ups appear. I could zoom in, and I'll have that scale-dependent renderer. And I can also configure this map element. Now, with all the elements inside Operations Dashboard, I simply go to the upper left-hand corner, and I hit this Configure button. Here is where I can turn on and off various, in this case, tools for my map. So do I want to have my pop-ups? Yes or no? Do I want a scale bar? I'll turn on my default extended bookmarks, maybe the base map switcher, and maybe my zoom in, zoom out button. I could also set some general properties like giving the element a name, putting a title to the map or a description. I'll talk about map actions and layer actions later on, but I simply hit Done, and you can see now I have a what you see is what you get user experience. I configured the properties of my elements. You'll notice now I have my zoom in, zoom out button in the lower right-hand corner. I have the base map switcher, and I also have my spatial extended bookmarks, right, so I can zoom in, and you can see that. All of that is honored, which is pretty cool. So if I spend some time configuring my web map nicely, I'll reap the benefits inside Operations Dashboard. So going through this demo, I want to build an Operations Dashboard showing me my water quality sample sites for the state of Maryland. Something that my manager or he or she might want to see is maybe a list of all my water sample sites. To do that, I simply click this plus sign. And here in this drop-down menu is a list of all my different elements, all the different pieces that I can use to create my new dashboard. And I can use as many or as few as I'd like. So in this case, I'll pick list. And right away, the UI asks me, okay, what is the data source for that element? Now, by default, it reads all the data layers in my web map, and I can choose one of them. But if I want to, I could also hit Select Layer and actually browse somewhere else and access another data source, so another map or another feature service. But for now, I'll go back, And I'm going to choose this OK Advisory Sites layer. And then I'm brought into my element configuration dialog. And the team has done a really great job to make the user experience very simple and nice. On the left-hand side are my configuration parameters, and on the right-hand side is a real preview of how my element will display in the app. You can see I have some symbols. I could apply a filter if I want to, or control how many features are displayed. But if I click this list option, here is where I can configure how the list will appear. Observe as I type in some text, so I'll choose sample site ID, that automatically previews for me. And if I click this little drop down, I can actually retrieve information for my attributes in that layer. So I'll just scroll down and choose station number. I'll type in sample date, and again, get the sample date information. And lastly, I will also put in access. Because for some of those sites, I may want to see if I may need to go back to do more water sampling, right? So we'll grab the access property, access type, and here we go. And again, I could just maybe make the sample site ID bold, right? Maybe make it blue to customize the look and feel. I'm not going to waste your time and show you all the properties. I think you guys get the idea. Now, just to customize it, maybe I'll go to General and add a title. So I'll click Edit Title here, and I'll call this Sample Sites. And again, I'll just give it a small header, make it bold, blue, and I'll center it. Now, one thing to be aware of is, for most of my properties, if you observe in the lower right-hand corner of the preview, there's this last update text. This might be applicable if I'm, consuming some real-time data, right? But for now, this is static, so I'll just turn that off. I hit done, and here is my list element, quickly added. And as I configure and add elements, this is my layout. This is the preview of how that dashboard will look. Now, something else that might be useful is I'm going to highlight for my manager some of the sample sites that are red, right? Which sites are important that might need follow-up. That's an important indicator. So I would click the plus and add this indicator element. Now, I'm going to click this unknown condition sites layer. And here you can see we have 19 sample sites that may require follow-up. And this is important for the manager. He or she probably wants to see that. That's important. That's a follow-up action. So again, I could apply a filter, but I want to highlight to you some of the indicator options. Maybe I'll make this a gentle red, right? I'll put here conditional sites, and I'll make this text red. And what's pretty cool is I also have access to a gallery of icons, so I can add it to the left or to the right of the number. I'll choose left. And now you can see Operations Dashboard includes a whole bunch of icons that are available to you. And I'm going to choose this one here with the water icon, and also make this red. And if you're wondering, yes, you can actually use custom images if it's an SVG file. I'll go back to my general and turn off this last update text. And I hit done. And again, I've added this element, and I can resize it. Maybe what I may want to do is click on it and actually drag it underneath my list. Notice I have those pop-up positional boxes, right? So I'll just put this underneath here, and you can see my dashboard is starting to form. Okay. So far, so good. Yes, it's really that easy, right? What else do I want to show? Well, I want to show a couple of other elements that are quite useful. One is a pie chart. So I'll click this plus sign, go to pie chart, and in this case, maybe I want to make a pie chart to show my manager the types of water bodies that were sampled in the state. So again, I'll choose my samples layer. And here, I have my configuration options on my left, my preview on the right, but maybe I'm unfamiliar with the data. Or maybe the data set's so big, I got to remember, or I need a reminder on how the data looks. Well, if you look at the upper right-hand corner of my configuration panel, notice I have this Show Data button. This is really useful. I can click on it, and notice now I get a preview of my attribute data. This is awesome, right? It helps me. I don't have to remember everything. Here I'm going to set a category, and we have this one category option called Grouped Values. This is really useful. This allows me to render, and what it does is it allows me to pick a column. In this case, I'll pick water body type, and it will count and display for me all the unique values in that column. So I'm going to get a count of all the different water body types. If I hit show preview now, notice I have my pie chart. This is pretty cool. And what makes Operations Dashboard great is we give you precision control, and you can basically configure the chart to show what you want to show. I can go to the slices option and again set some custom colors. I could add a category, remove a category. I can add custom labels or change the percentages or change how the text appears. But for now, I'll keep it simple. I'll add a title and I'll say types of water bodies. And again, I'll just give this a heading, make it bold, blue, and I'll center it. And as before, I'll just turn off this last update text. You'll notice all my elements keep getting added to the right. And I'm going to reposition this so I can click on it and drag it. Now I could add it maybe on top of the list if I wanted to, but Pat mentioned something when he was doing the parade of dashboards, which is if you want to save space, you can actually stack elements on top of each other. So in this case, what I'm going to do is take the pie chart and put it on top of my indicator. So if I hover over the indicator and then place it in the center box, I'm stacking the items. Notice now, I've saved some real estate, but I can flip between these tabs, pie chart or indicator, and I can actually rename those tabs. And if you're worried that perhaps the pie chart looks a bit crowded, well, at any point in time, I can go to the upper right-hand corner and actually expand that element, which is pretty cool. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to add a couple more elements. This time I'm going to go to serial chart, and I really love this element. Again, I'm going to show some water sample sites. And again, as before, if I'm not familiar with the data or don't have it memorized, I click Show Data Table, and here I can see all my water sample data. In this case, what I want to do is I'm going to make a serial chart that shows information about all my water sample sites. So what I can do is I'm going to choose the Features category, and now I'm going to pick Station Number. So this will grab and display all the information in that column. If I click Show Preview, you can see here I have all my water sample sites along my x-axis. Next, I have to set a property to display on my y-axis, right, my series field. And just for demo purposes, perhaps I'll choose mercury. So now I can see mercury levels. Right? Now, I know I have roughly 200 plus sites. This might be too much information to show in a chart. It's not really effective. It's kind of clouded or cloggy. So what I could do is actually change my maximum categories option. Maybe I'll just pick 30. So now I can start to see my data. And even still, it's kind of useful, but not really, right? If I want to build a dashboard and I want to show relevant information, and by the way, I'm not a hydrologist, I'm making this up. Maybe I want to see the top 30 water sample sites that had the highest mercury level. Does that make sense? I'm not saying that's bad, I'm just pretending that it's bad. So what I could do is I could apply a sort. I click the sort button, I choose mercury again, and now I can say descending. So here are the top 30 sites that have the highest mercury level. Right? Or I could pick some other property, whatever the case may be. What I'm going to do next is just kind of show you what's possible with this really great element, but it's not really applicable. This isn't continuous data, but what I could do is just as an FYI, actually let me go back quickly, and I want to get rid of this sort. Let me turn this off. Let me delete this. So, whoops. Mercury, 1, that's why. Let me just click this again. Category field, my mistake, I apologize, is going to be station number. And then my series field, well, let's just do rainfall. I don't have a structured demo, as you can tell. I just want a complex graph. My point is, what I can do is I can go to series and actually change how the data is rendered. And again, this is not continuous data, so it's just for demo purposes, but I could obviously apply a line or a smooth line. Okay, you guys get the idea. So we give you that control. But if I go back to my data, what I am going to show is this. I'm going to show two series data. I'm going to show water temperature. Let me choose 30 again. And then I'm going to show another series, and I'm going to choose air temperature. Go back to my series, and I'll make this bar so you can compare it. But I can set up a series chart with these bars. And of course, I can customize the color. So maybe instead of orange, I'll use a green. And instead of that strong yellow, I'll use a lighter yellow. Now I'll add a title, and I'll call this water and air temperature. And again, just make this a header, bold, blue, and center. Turn off that last update text. And I'll display this underneath my map element. Okay, so far so good. I could demo all the elements, but I don't want to waste your time. I think you guys get the idea that every element has properties. We give you lots of precision control on how you want to configure it, right, and display it. I'll add one more really quickly, which is the header, because I personally like having a title. So I'll call this, water quality dashboard. I'm going to actually add an icon really quickly, so I'll add another water icon. And I'll make it all blue. And I'm going to save it. That's another best practice that I should have done. I should have been saving all the way through, okay? All right, so I have a dashboard. Pat always says I make ugly dashboards. I know that he's looking over my shoulder. I show you mechanically how it works. That's why he doesn't show anything I make. You can have this. You can set it up on your screen, right? And if you had real, a data feed coming in, it would update, and that's cool. And this is one usage of Operations Dashboard. But another aspect that Pat hinted at is that you can actually create interactive dashboards. And what that means is you set up a dashboard, but you can actually set up behavior. So your end user can actually interact with the dashboard. For example, notice I have my pie chart, my serial chart, and my indicator, right? But it would be nice if I zoomed in or zoomed out for my various elements to update as well. Does that logic make sense? That's pretty powerful. This is known as the action framework, where I can configure dashboards so that when I do something to one element, it causes an action to occur in a second or third or fourth element. Does that make sense? So when I set this up, when that event occurs on my original element, it's called the source element. And then when something happens, an action, that's called my target element. Seems like it's complicated, but the team has done a great job to make it easy and very configurable. Let me show you what I mean. So for me to set up behavior where when I change my spatial map extent and my elements will update to reflect that change, all I do is go to the upper left-hand corner, go to Configure, and I go to Map Actions. And here is where I can say, well, when the map extent changes, add an action. I'm going to apply a filter. What am I going to filter? I pick my target element. In this case, I'll choose my indicator, I'll choose my pie chart, and I will also choose my serial chart. I hit Done, and now watch. Pay attention to the elements in the bottom. I'm just going to zoom into my map display. Notice now that they update. This is cool. This is where you go, ooh, look at that. Your manager, he or she does not need to know how easy it is. You go back and you tell them, I need half a day to make this happen, okay? Let me show you one more really quick, right? Another cool, simple action is, well, what if I select an item in my list, I have my map zoom into it. That's a really common behavior, right? Same thing. I go up here, configure, in this case, an action, and now if I have a selection, I'm going to zoom to my map, right? Again, I hit done. Now watch, I pick something in my list, I zoom to it, and my elements update. Now it can get pretty complicated, so we want to show you that it's possible. You need to obviously decide what you want to show, okay? I'm almost done. I have like one more statement to say, which is, yes, you saw me make a dashboard in 10 minutes, and mechanically that's possible. And the team has done a great job to make the user experience really nice. The real challenge, and this is where I know past, making the dashboard look nice, right? I mean, here, everything is available, but the colors might be loud, they might not be contrasting. But what the team recommends is you spend some time to make your dashboard look gorgeous so management likes it, right? So I could do a simple trick, which is this. It's using the light theme, I'll use the dark theme, and maybe I'll change my base map here. Now you know why I picked the colors that I did. But with that, I'll pass it on to Pat.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Derek. So now you've seen sort of the art of what's possible with the parade of dashboards. You've sort of seen the sort of the basics of how to construct one. Let's get into quickly just going through some of the things that we've added in the last couple of weeks. We released with the ArcGIS platform 4 times a year for online. And so the new things that we've added over the course of the last little while. We've seen this dashboard already, and it's a great dashboard, very easy to understand what it's trying to say. But in terms of giving people the flexibility they need to create a nice looking product, we exposed lots of color properties, but on previous releases, in order to do that, you had to change the colors on each of the individual elements. So at this release, what we've done, and we didn't take away the ability to do it on an element per element basis, but we've introduced this idea of dashboard level settings. So when we go into dashboard level settings with the little cog in the upper right hand corner, you see that we've exposed all of these colors. Now I'm not going to go into detail in terms of what all of them do, but let's just quickly change a couple of them. Nope. That's interesting. Hold on.
There you go.
Is that it? Yep. Okay, let's go back and rejig that. So it's the dashboard we've already seen. The button that I was talking about here is this cog. We click it, and it exposes a number of different colors that you can set. Quickly, I'll just do a couple of them. I'll change the color of the text to something that's bright white, so it pops a little bit more. Let's set the element outline color and call it done. And you can just quickly see you can get these nice effects really quickly. Spend a little bit of time with it, you can do lots of different things. So that's one of the new things that we've added at the new release. Let's move on. Here's a dashboard showing some infrastructure projects in Canada. It's top 100 of them, I think. And we're seeing an indicator which Derek showed. We're seeing a serial chart which Derek showed. And one of the things that we've had the ability to do since we released this product is we have the ability to take large numbers, and we have the ability to prefix them with their units of measurement, so that these large numbers, is that billion, is that trillion, I don't know. You're doing mental arithmetic to do these things, and a dashboard should tell you what you need to know, and you shouldn't have to think too hard about it. So one of the things that we've always had is the ability to unit prefix them. And so the unit prefixes that we chose were the metric ones. And in metric, billion is giga, so G. Let me format that a little bit more here, just so we've had that. Oops, if I could type. So we've always had that. And not everybody gets G. So what we did is we sort of strayed a little bit away from unit prefixing, or metric prefixing, I should say, and we've given the people the ability to configure what they want to see here. And this was actually one of our number 1 requests to do this. And so when you go in here, it now changes to a B. People get it, so that's cool. Unit prefixing isn't everywhere. On a serial chart, if you're putting your numbers on your value axis here, and here the value axis is the y-axis, you can apply these techniques elsewhere as well. So if I come in here, and if I go to the value axis, you can see I just turn on the prefixing, and it shortens it, and you're just getting a little bit more real estate back into your thing. So that's good. Oh, actually, the next thing I wanted to show on this dashboard is actually the same thing. So another thing that we've added at this release is the ability to have logarithmic scales on your value axis on your chart. Sometimes your data is increasing exponentially, and so you end up with these charts where you get really, really tall columns and you get really, really short columns, and they don't look quite right. So what you can do also, and this quick little setting here, is you can come in, and on your value axis, you can just turn on the logarithmic scale, come in here, and you can see here how it bunches them up, and it just distributes the chart in a more aesthetically pleasing way. So those are a couple of small additions that we added for this release. Moving forward, this is a dashboard showing real-time snowplows, and the fact that it's showing snowplows in the middle of July should indicate to you that this is fake data. But I mean, this is dump trucks. This is dump trucks. I just changed it. I'll just change the title of it. But it's updating in real time. So I think I've configured it to every 6 seconds or so. You should see these things move, or unless it's frozen, because I was playing around with it too much before. Is it moving? Let me just refresh that. See if it got stale on me. Or sometimes the service is finicky and just decides to not work. Okay, well, this might be a short demo. So Derek was talking about the actions framework and he showed a couple of them. And the actions framework is how dashboard elements can be configured to communicate with each other. They're interacting with each other. He showed the ability to respond to the map extent changing, and he showed the ability to respond to the selection on an element changing. So two things that we added to this release are, first, let's go into here, and on this list, the first one we added is the ability to show the pop-up on the map. So as I'm selecting these things, I can come in here and show pop-up when it selects. So now when I'm done here, when I click on one of these things, the pop-up shows. So we were asked to add that, and we did, and that's great. Hey, it's moving again. The other action that we added for this release is called follow. And follow is very useful in the real-time scenario, because sometimes the things that you're viewing on your map go off the screen, or they get stuck in the corner or something like that. So what we have the ability to do through the actions framework, I'll get rid of that other one, is we have the ability to follow a feature. So now I'm going to do that. So now when I click on it, it should center the map on this element, and as this element moves, the map will just change extent as you're going around. Now, I don't really have a lot of faith that this is actually going to work right now, but let's try it. Okay, let's see. Hey. Okay, well, every 6 seconds, that's moving a little bit. So I should make this demo move faster. Anyways, it is what it is. Another small improvement here, we've got a pie chart. So this is real time. So as the things grows, the pies get bigger. But the text on this is pretty small. And for whatever reason, we just missed it on pie charts in previous releases, is we didn't really have the ability to change the text size. So if we want to do that, that's probably not a good idea to do that much, but you can change the text size, and so it just stands out a little bit better. So that's a little small improvement that we've made along the way. The next thing I want to show you is actually going to be on another device, because one of the things that we did for this release is that we previously blocked dashboards from being opened on smartphones. And the reason we did that is because we originally designed dashboards to be displayed on your browsers, your desktop browsers, or on like wall-mounted TVs and stuff like that. And they usually contain a lot of information. We designed them to take up 100% of your view at all times. And we just thought, for whatever reason, that they wouldn't look good on a dashboard. But we kind of missed one important thought process during all of that, is that you should be authoring your dashboards for the environment in which they'll be used. When you're out in the field, you don't need your full dashboard on your phone. You probably only need a few metrics, or you might need a chart or two, but you don't need everything. So when we changed our philosophy a bit, we said, you know what, why don't we just enable dashboards on the phones? Now, we do have some work to do on them, but I'll show you a couple of the things that you can do, and just know from us, our promise to you is that we'll be improving this stuff a little bit even further. So why don't you flip that over, and we'll see if my phone comes up here. Cool. So just, we'll go through these really quickly because we're quickly running out of time, but I'll just open up a couple of them here. This one's showing crime statistics in Philadelphia kind of thing. When you're looking at a phone dashboard, you're probably not toying around with it too much. You don't need a ton of interactivity. It's just you want to be able to glance at it, get the information you need, go away. So that's one dashboard. We created Philadelphia crime statistics. This next one is a variation of the Waze alerts that we previously saw. So this is actually being updated in real time. And so here we're seeing, the number of accidents that have happened in the Colorado area. We can add light interactivity, and I forgot my stylus, so I'm going to fat finger this really badly, but I can go and I can filter these to just show certain types of events, 0 of those, that kind of stuff. We'll go into an hour, put that back to all, change it. So you can see that it's updating itself in real time. Get out of here, go into the snowplow one. So when you're authoring a dashboard for use on your phone, you author it for the mode in which you're going to be looking at it, or the view. So are you going to be in landscape mode, or are you going to be in portrait mode kind of thing? How do you normally look at it? So this is just one that we've authored to go into landscape mode. So that's the sort of the art of the possible. Just wanted to give you guys a quick tip and trick on this. So when you're authoring a dashboard for your phone on your desktop, they look like this, and you're like, hey, what? How's that going to look? So tip is on your browser. Most of them have built-in developer tools, and so you can turn those on, and you can do something like this. So I'll set that back, and so now you're into your developer tools. You can turn on this thing called it's like the mobile emulator, and you can come in here and you can change it for the different types of phone you have. So as you're going back and forth, you can see what it's actually going to look like, and then so when you bring it up to your phone, and you guys saw that just works. Jumping back to the slides here real quick, because we are running out of time. I'm just going to throw up a couple of slides that you guys can take pictures of, because I'm not going to have time to talk to them. It's just sort of the ways to contact us. In terms of roadmap, lots of new toys coming out. Come see us at the island. We'll talk to you a little bit more about them, but we're going to do some really cool stuff this year. So you guys can take a picture of that if you want. You guys good? Good? All right. Other stuff? Other sessions?
The one to highlight is tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., 30B is the Designing Dashboards session. Highly recommended.
That's one down here. Yep. All right, I'm moving forward. See us here. Take the survey, and 18 seconds for questions.
Thank you, guys.